we know that this is the time of Siras Omer, and the Avelus of Siras Omer, the makar is in the fact that Talmidei Rabbi Akiva lo nagu kavod zeh. Okay? Now, yesterday I brought that up, and someone said to me, the way you spoke about it, or whatever it is not true. Because, of course, Talmidei Rabbi Akiva were holding in such a high madrega that we have no hasaga in what they're doing. So, obviously, the kavod, lo nagu kavod zeh, Rabbi Akiva was, if we would be there, we would think they're nagu kavod zeh. And this gets into all of the different things that are written in Tanakh. The brothers were mekane each other, and Yosef, and David HaMelech had an issue with a woman, and Yehuda was with his Zona, and all these things the Torah describes to us extremely in graphic detail. What are we meant to do with these things? So a very standard approach I was taught, is that, like we say, we have no hasaga in these things, and we're not meant to really understand it, and if we have to downplay it as much as possible. And I want you to know, I want you to think about that. I think one of the most important things that I'm trying to accomplish in this yeshiva is, let's start from fresh. What do you think? And I'm not going to tell you what I think right now, but I would like to go around for 1 minute and hear what you think about that. And then we'll start filling.
If the Torah went explicitly telling you that somebody did something, behaved in a way that they shouldn't have, according to the Torah, I would assume that they did that. Like, I wouldn't water it down. Like, keep it the way it is. This is what happened, and
you agree with that?
No.
What do you think?
If you take something at face value that doesn't fit with you, doesn't sit well with you, I think it's important to turn it over and maybe there's a deeper understanding. Unless you're comfortable with just accepting that whatever it says it is, and that's that.
Well, why are you sound like you're uncomfortable? So why are you uncomfortable?
Why am I uncomfortable? Well, it's hard for me to believe people on that level doing the things that they did. Yehuda was, imagine lahavdil, but imagine he was like Rav Yisrael and I, and then you find out that Rav Yisrael, I don't even know if I can say the words. Yeah. I know as well as I can. But if you find out that Rav Yisrael and I, God forbid, okay, was with a prostitute, it would seriously impact my personal emunah and my personal belief and trust in the Torah. This is the greatest person right now. I mean, one of the greatest tzaddikim, and you find out he went with a prostitute. Like, it's not just stories. It's Yehuda. Yehuda was the Gadol Hador. Yehuda was like the greatest, and he was with a prostitute. Like, it doesn't make sense. How can I understand?
he's human too. Like, being great doesn't mean that you don't fall.
I just want to paraphrase what you said.
Everybody has, challenges, and sometimes you fall for them.
But not that. I mean, you'd expect that at that level.
Yeah, but if it happened to a normal person, it's normal. But everyone looks up to him, so it's gonna infect on all the other people that like him.
Okay, so you said two things, and I want to pinpoint each one of them. One of them is what you said, which is I'm invested, me personally, because I want to believe in the Torah. And I'd be very uncomfortable if the person who represents the Torah did a chet. So I am going to decide that didn't happen. I'm just being brutally honest. That's what you said.
Decide it didn't happen?
I'm going to decide that the pasuk doesn't mean exactly kipshuto because I'm invested.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it must mean something. There must be a different meaning. There must be something. Not that it didn't happen.
Okay.
There's a reason why it happened, or there was a deeper thing. For example, I'll give you one example. Potiphar which was the wife of Potiphar, was seducing Yosef.
Mm-hmm.
And she kept trying to get with him.
Mm-hmm.
And Yosef kept telling him, no, 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 no. And he
Mm-hmm.
managed to get away from her. Now, the truth is, I didn't know anything about this woman, other than she's nuts. Like she's just trying to go and like be with Yosef the whole time. What's going on over there, right? Turns out, I don't know if it's a medrash or where I learned it, but it turns out that she saw in a prophetic vision that she was going to give birth to a child with Yosef, and that child would become a very great person and bring Mashiach. Which, by the way, now that changes everything, because now I understand in her mind, this is meant to happen. What was the problem? The problem was that the prophetic dream she had was right, except it wasn't her, it was her daughter that was meant to be with him. And it happens to be that Yosef ends up being with her daughter, and then they have a child, and that child ends up, that's going to be Mashiach ben Yosef that comes out through that lineage. And so, it was a mistake, but the difference between that and, oh, she's evil, she's trying to seduce him and it's a very different picture now.
Okay, what's your response to that?
I mean, fine, but you see, like, just like the Torah told you the story there, maybe it was skipping out some details. Yeah, fine, maybe they skipped out some details in all these stories, but I don't think, like, why would the Torah just, like, say, this holy guy sinned when they didn't do it at all?
They did it, but
They did
there's a different picture that we're seeing. You look through a keyhole and you see somebody cutting somebody up. They're like horrified. What is this? The guy's a murderer. This guy's a sick, disgusting murderer. So you break open the door and you're about to like kill the guy, and then you see it's a doctor, and the person who he's cutting open, he's saving his life. All of a sudden, he's a hero. He's not a villain anymore.
Right,
So
but
does
the
it
Torah
stop
doesn't.
the fact that he's doing that act? He's still doing that act. He's still cutting the
say
guy out.
that, like, they are villains for what they did. I'm saying they're human, and, like, if it is a sin, then, like, I get why it might have happened.
But he asked a really important question. Is that you said something the Chazal say, and he said something Torah Shebechsav says. And he's asking you,
That's what we need Chazal.
why does Hashem write it that way, even though Chazal is emes?
Because he wants us to learn Chazal, I guess. I guess he wants us to dive into it. He wants us to delve deeper into what this is. He wants us to be bothered by it. He wants us to see it and go, what the heck is going on over here? How can that be? And not just take it at face value.
Okay, so you're making an assumption
I am.
that the Torah, the Chamishi Chumshei Torah, is not supposed to be learned on its own. It's only supposed to be learned with Chazal. Assumption.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I personally disagree with that. Based on the Gemara in Brachas, the Gemara in Brachas says, on Daf Hey, V're'etna lecha lucha yisa even asher kasavti l'hoyroisam. And the Gemara darshans that each one of this pasuk is coming to relate that there's different halakim of the Torah. So one of them is Luchos elu aseres hadibros. Torah zu mikra. V'hamitzvah zu mishnah. Asher kastavti elu neviim v'ksuvim lahorosam ze Gemara. Melamed shekulam nitnu leMoshe misinai. And what I learned from this is what the Gemara calls a lot of different places is Morei Mikra, Morei Mishnah, right? Morei Talmud. That each one of the Torah, there's 5 halakim, and each one is coming to address a different need in a human being to experience Hashem. And what you can get from Torah Shebechsav, you cannot get from Mishnah. And what you can get from Mishnah, you cannot get from Torah Shebechsav, which is why the Rashbam and Rashi were Toreach, the Rashbam much more than Rashi, were Toreach lahazbir kol haTorah kula al pi pshat. There's pshat, remes, drush, sod, and Chazal are saying drush sometimes, and ein mikra yotzim midei pshuto is a halacha, right? A Gemara on Shabbos in Bamei Isha, Isha, that you have to learn the pshat and also the drash, and each one is giving you an emes.
You're saying the pshat has to be emes on its own without any explanation.
Right.
So
And also the drash is emes. And here you get complicated. Wait, what's emes? This. That's my opinion of your Hanachat Yisod. And I think his question is, Bimkomo Omeid, why would the Torah say that way if the Torah is also teaching you in Chazal the way you're saying it? Can I ask you what you think? Which one? Zisha. So you think that it means we're meant to understand it like it says? What do you do, Chaver, think?
Well, I mean, there's some stuff that you have to just accept and some stuff that you have to question, like,
I hope that I inspire you to question everything. Inspire in you to question everything, and also know that when Hashem and the Chazal are saying something, that it's true. And both accept and question at the same time. You know what it looks like to accept and question? It looks like you don't talking with chutzpah, but you're absolutely not willing to accept something that it's true until you understand it. Where does it say that? The Gemara in Bava Basra, that Rava said to his Talmidim, he said to him, when I say a halacha, and you don't think it's true, then you should do two things. In your own life, ein l'dayin el hamashav ein aros, you should live according to your understanding of the Torah. But don't rip up what I said, keep it in mind, because one day you might understand it, and if you rip it up, you won't ever get there. Right? You see that at two levels? Like Rab Chaim Volozhiner explains, the mission of Ahavi misavik ba'afar ragleim. Misavik is a lotion of wrestling. I'm fighting. I don't agree. You said something, I don't see it that way. But where are you? You're ba'afar. Because you look and you see something gavoa mi al gavoa, you don't understand it. So I leave it, it's b'makom. But I'm also in my makom. So I'm going to ask questions, I'm going to come answers, I'm going to live according to what I understand. But I understand there's something greater than me, that I'm going to get there one day. Both midos are in place. What I find it happens in the world that stresses emunas chachamim to the point of bittul, right? So then two things happen. One is that the person either dies and has no personality, no personal relationship with Torah and mitzvos, or the reaction, which is that everything you're saying is wrong, I think you're stupid and I'm not talking to you, right? And you lose a lot that way. And the balance is extremely important. You're a person, you're supposed to think, you're supposed to question, you're supposed to do what you think, but you have to know there's something greater than you. Or else you're living in gas saruach. Just okay. So this is a very, very important question. I think there's a very beautiful way to answer it, and I'm going to give it over for 10 minutes, and then we'll move on to tefillin. Okay? We have a lot of different halakim to ourselves. Okay? The same way there's a lot of different halakim in the Torah called Pshat, Remesh, Drus, and Sod. These are mechuvan to different levels of a human being. Okay? So, if I would go to a doctor, and Avram Avinu would go to a doctor, okay? Avram Avinu, David HaMelech, right? And I had a broken arm and he had a broken arm. Or I had heart trouble and he had heart trouble, chas v'shalom. Would the doctor see something different in the two of our hearts? Through the eyes of the body, we all are completely similar. We have 5 toes, they have 5 toes on each side, right? And that's important because we're all the same. We have to learn from each other. They're not different human beings. There's another level of a human being, which is called midos. Midos are the place where all of your ideas in your being, all of your neshama, all of your incredible hasagos, they translate, they have to go through these filters to access actions. In other words, a person can learn something, be completely inspired, but if his midos are not holding in the same place, he won't do what he thought. Right? You ever had that idea where it's like you're told, you're totally convinced about something, that it's emes lamito, and you do the exact opposite? Common thing? How does that happen? Because it's clear here, but here, where all the action is, it's not. This part of yourself is not connected to your ideas. Now, the same way it's obvious to me that Avraham Avinu had 5 toes, 5 fingers in each hand, he also had the same midos that I do. In other words, he also had to balance between anger and giving up and not caring about people. He had to balance between being scared and being totally fearless and doing stupid things. All of the same midos that I work on, he has to work on. The ability to love, he has to develop, right? And where his midos were holding, that's where his hasagos, what all he was thinking in his mind, were able to translate into reality. Okay? Now, it's obvious that Avraham Avinu, what he was thinking about, where his neshama was holding, and all of the things he was doing in the world, I have no idea. That's completely obvious to me. But you notice the Torah doesn't speak about it one time. Because it's pnimius. It's something relevant to him. The part of the Torah which is universal is like the mitzvos. Right? Mitzvos are universal to everybody. But how you can do the mitzvos, how you relate to the mitzvos is completely different than somebody else. And your struggle with the mitzvos is completely different than someone else. Therefore, it's not talked about because it's personal. So, Avraham Avinu, let's say we talk about the case of Yehuda. So the Torah describes a fact. Yehuda lost his wife. He was down in the dumps. And he walked down the street. He had an experience, looked at his zona, and he fell. That's what happened. Because that's a universal formula in midos, that when you're in a sad state, you're prone to be pulled to a negative sexual experience. Okay? That's universal things. Now, it says in the Medrash that the only way this zona could possibly convince Yehuda to do this, the Yehuda's very, he's holding in a very high place, and his zona is something which doesn't even interest him. Like Rabbi Akiva, when he was in Rome, they gave him the 2 most beautiful zonos in Rome. And he didn't go near them. Good morning. So, and they asked him, like, what did you find wrong with us? They were like insulted. And he said, I don't know, you smell like shkotzim v'ramashin. You're disgusting to me. Hey, what does that teach you? That teaches you that he didn't even desire it. It was something so disgusting to him. So Yehuda, in order for him to desire Tamar, the Medrash says that he saw, like you were talking about before, he saw that if he wasn't with this woman, the Nevi'im and the Malachim that were supposed to come out of him wouldn't come out. But he still fell with a zona. And it's still because if he would have been mitukan completely in the topic of bris, he wouldn't have fallen. And they would have come a different way. But the reason he fell is not relevant to us because we're not Yehuda. The technical midos is relevant to us. What we're supposed to learn from Yosef and the brothers is that if you favor one child, you're going to have kina between brothers. And when there's kina between brothers, you can have ad kedei kach, someone kill somebody. That's what we're supposed to learn. Now, when they decided to do this, obviously they had all kinds of ideas why it's important for the history of Klal Yisrael, because that's what they were thinking about the whole time, right? But that's not relevant to me because that's not my thought process. What's relevant to me is the midah of kinos will destroy a family. That's what's relevant to me. And that's why the Torah speaks about it. And that's why the level of pshat, we have to learn pshat, because pshat is here, very down to earth. Then there's all kinds of other things, there's Jewish and that, which is also a way of us processing our own internal process, but that you do on your own. So what do you think about that? You agree with that? Called this Kol the Mamadaka.
Means we all agree.
Mm-mm.
The deepest.
What I think it means they're in process.
Yeah.
The best part of the whole world process. So I'll leave you for 2 seconds to think about this, and then we'll move on.
There is somewhere, I can't remember exactly where it says that if a person judges Yehuda or judges
Kol Misha Omer David HaMelech Chata Ein Rela Torah. It's a Gemara in Shabbos on I don't know, the end of Ameisha.
right, so
All of them. They go through all of them.
Right.
A lot of them.
okay.
Right.
So all the cases where a tzaddik fell, if you judge them Then what was the last?
Eino el Torah. Can I tell you a secret? If you see your friend making a chet and you judge them, Eino el Torah.
Yes, so why does it bring those examples?
Because those are obvious. And they're teaching you a klal, how to deal with people. That you never know what's really going on in someone's pnim. I'll give you an example. In my personal life, I had 3 people, and now I'm dealing with a 4th, who are pedophiles. And they've hurt countless people in their lives. Okay? And when I worked with them, right, I treated them as though they were abused people. And that the reason that they did it was because that. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't do something wrong. That's what the Torah would call it if they did that. But if you want to understand their process, and you want to care, and you want to bring them up to a place of tshuva, you have to know what's the system inside themselves. And that's the emes. In his core, he's not bad. He did very, very bad things. Take responsibility for every one of them. But he can heal because his core is pure, and what happened to him was something that was outside of his being, and it marked him, and he can heal from that abuse, and then he won't do it anymore. 3 of them that I worked with this mahalach, they all healed. The 4th one I'm working on today. Starting. That's what that means. To judge somebody is always wrong. You have absolutely no idea their internal process. You just can't know. And when they speak to you, and you listen well, you can understand 1/10. Because only 1/10 of a person is galui lachutza. The rest of it is all inside. Baal Tanya says that.
So you can only ever understand 10% of a person.
Yeah, because that's what's Yizgala Achutza, Midas Amalchus. The rest of it's too pnimi. He may not even be able to put it into words. And know that for yourself. Like, think about the things you did in your life, right? And think about how other people look at them. Are they right? One of the best ways to destroy somebody is to tell them what you think about them when you know nothing. For example, who did that? Paro. How did Paro enslave 1 million people? The first thing he told them was, you're traitors. You're going to revolt and throw us out of the country. Vayareu osanu hamitzriyim vaya'anunu. The first thing was Vayareu osanu. They made us bad. Pshat. That's what the nikud means. Vayareu osanu made us bad. Says Chazal, how do they do that? Hava nischak malo pen yirbe. They'll be smart and they'll kick us out of our own country. When you call somebody bad, you label them. They spend the entire life trying to prove you wrong. And that's what they put their all energy. Right? So what do the Jews do? Okay, no, we're good citizens. We'll work for you. We'll show you, right? And it was always that cycle. As opposed to if you actually make someone good, they'll be that. So you should notice inside of yourself how often someone labeled you on a certain thing and what that did to you, right? And part of cherus is being able to say, listen, you know nothing about me. I'm not interested in your stuff. Leave me alone and let me process myself. And that's really the process that a mitzorah goes through. We just learned about last week, right? He starts off as a mitzorah. Why did he start off as a mitzorah? Because he spoke bad about somebody else. He saw them in a way that wasn't true. And therefore he turned into that. And his process of tahara is that he goes to the Kohen after he's misrape, and the Torah starts off Zos Torah HaMitzorah. And then when the Kohen comes, he's always called Hamitaher. He switched. He's not on a mitzvah anymore. He's a person coming to her. Because the Kohen was able to see him in the way that's true to his source. That's why it has to be a Kohen. Anybody else have something to share about that before we start?
What if you just don't see anything bad in him? You tell him what he's doing. You don't tell him he's doing something bad, but you remind him what he's doing.
I don't have a problem telling someone they're doing something bad. I have a problem saying they're bad. I don't know why he's doing it. But I need to tell him that's not okay. And this is the right thing to do. Now I'll work with you to figure out how you can get there. And I won't decide that you can get there. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it'll take you 2 years to get there. But you need to know that's not okay. That's what the Torah is always doing. Now that's not okay. Now how long will it take you to get there? Could take you 60 years. Okay, that was fun. Now, what I'd like to do, we're going to learn tefillin this month. Okay,
You want to start it again?
go for it.
How do you do it?
Start off on
Yeah,
a...
the red circle.